Shane McMahon and Braun Stroman go full Nickelodeon on us. Alexa Bliss invites Randy Orton to Fastlane. Asuka is once again forgotten as Raw Women's Champion. And how exactly are championship matches earned now? We're going to get into all this plus much more in your full Raw review right after this.
What's going on? He said she heard.
It's an original Mike Fox podcast series.
He said
She heard.
That wasn't your lunchbox you just ate out of. It had my name on it.
You guys are nuts.
these guys are a riot.
It's overheard conversations.
Wait, what do we have here?
Just an old bra.
What's going on in there?
Every episode is about hearing one thing, but finding out it was something completely different.
I taught him how to really meditate.
I love the quirky comedy,
Bakery heist.
The whole bakery knows you just fatted.
the music.
You call it soccer, but we call it football.
Soccer.
I'm Kelly Petering from Australia.
Hi, I'm Mattia Signaroldi from Italy.
And I'm Mike Fox from America. And we are,
He Said, She Heard.
and you can find us at,
www.hesaidSheheard.com.
can you say that again?
Yes, at www.hesaidSheheard.com.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. And happy 316 Day. If you're a wrestling fan, when March 16th comes around, it is a special day because we celebrate one of the best of all time. My favorite, and you heard him in my intro, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So give me a hell yeah as we celebrate 316 Day. I'm sure you've seen the social media and wherever you may go, Instagram, Facebook. If you're a wrestling fan, then you have probably seen that it's 316 Day in the event that you forgot. But boy, what a difference a year makes when we look at where things were a year ago. I mean, a year ago today, as I record this, it's March 16th. It's a Tuesday, but a year ago, it was Monday, March 16th. And what happened that day? Well, it was the very first Monday Night Raw that was not in front of a live crowd. We had Austin come out in front of nobody in the Performance Center. That sucked. I mean, he even admitted it sucked, and why wouldn't it? You're taking the biggest part of the show out of the equation. And it was a show that I won't forget because it felt so weird. And I said, there's no way they can do this. How could that even be possible? And here we are. Here we are 1 year later, one effing year later. And yes, things have improved. Yes, we have the Thunderdome. The production team have adapted. Talent have adapted to the best that they can. But it's still a reminder that this thing has been going on for a year, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I think that we certainly can see it. We can feel it. We can participate in it if you're getting vaccinated or whatever. Whatever the case may be, and we're heading out of it, and I believe WWE will travel in 2021, even if it's in a limited capacity. But WrestleMania tickets have apparently not gone on sale, or they're redoing a date or something like that. So that is the latest when it comes to WrestleMania tickets. If you plan on attending in person, they said stay tuned. It was kind of a quick thing they mentioned on Raw last night. So pay attention. They will be bringing the tickets back on sale or an on-sale date at some point in the near future. So, with all that said, guys, thank you for joining me here on the WWE Podcast here as I record this on Tuesday, March 16th, 2021. And we are creeping up very quickly on the 1 million download mark. Now, that may not seem like a lot, and I'm not here to talk about the success of this show because, honestly, there's shows that are much more successful than this one. But, I can't thank you guys enough for continuing to help this show grow in a very crowded wrestling podcast category. You guys have been the reason that we've been so successful, not just the listeners, of course, but our hosts, our co-hosts, our guests that come on, the mailbag. You guys make it all very successful. So, and I do encourage you, if you want to participate in the mailbag, I do that every Wednesday, which is tomorrow night, and you can participate in voicemail form at 518-952-0247, or you can email us at realwwepodcast@gmail.com. So, boy, what the hell happened on Monday Night Raw? I mean, I will say that there were elements I enjoyed. It wasn't the worst Monday Night Raw in history, by far. It wasn't a rant-worthy entire show that I'm going to crap on. That said, man, like, some of these things just don't make sense. Like, I mean, here's what I'm going to start off with. Believe it or not, I'm going to start off with Asuka. I know I mentioned her at the open of the show. How forgotten is Asuka? And by proxy, how forgotten is the Raw Women's Championship? I've mentioned this several times over the last several months now. It's been months since we have seen any kind of focus on the Raw Women's Championship. It's sad. It's sad. And Asuka also, I mean, Asuka is a hell of a performer. Yes, she got her teeth knocked out. But why should an injury be the thing we're talking about with her rather than, you know, the championship that she's carrying that is supposed to be one of the most important of the women's division on either brand, especially for the Raw side, obviously, with the Raw Women's Championship. How is this not something that WWE has even remotely tried to focus on? I think myself and many listeners have thought, well, they're just kind of keeping things kind of quiet until Charlotte comes back, right? And I said the same thing. Well, Charlotte came back, and she immediately went into this bestie friend respect team thing with Asuka. They won the Women's Tag Team Championships, lost them. There was some tension. Ric Flair comes in. Lacey Evans is pregnant. Charlotte tells her dad to go home. Her dad goes home, and Charlotte's MIA. So what the F is going on? I don't understand this. How are the women not even talking about it? Have they just decided to pretend the belt doesn't exist? Can we at least get contenders that, yeah, they're not going to take the belt off Asuka, but at least the women talking about it to remind us that this belt means a lot? Even around the waist of Asuka, it's starting to wilt. It's wilting away, even around the waist of Asuka, one of the best WWE has. That's telling. And again, this is not. This wasn't really something they focused on Raw. This wasn't really a news item coming out of the show, but by default, it kind of is. How glaring of an omission is the Raw Women's Championship right now? And it's, again, this is not something that they have been doing maybe a month, even a month and a half, okay? It's been like 3 months or more now that the Raw Women's Championship has been deemed irrelevant or not important enough to talk about. And I don't want to hear that, oh, well, you know, they didn't have anybody for Charlotte, or they didn't have anybody for Asuka. We all knew they were just going to get to Charlotte. Well, you can have people in the interim talk about it, compete for it. And they don't. They simply don't. It's bizarre. It is frustrating if you're a women's wrestling aficionado, like I'm sure most of you are, myself included. I want to see the women succeed. And part of the way that they succeed is by making us feel like what they're competing for is important. And I have not felt that way about the Raw Women's Championship in, a quarter of a year. It's really mind-boggling when you think about what they've done with it. And there's no excuse for it. Zero. I don't want to hear that they didn't feel anybody was worthy of challenging Asuka. I don't need to hear that. That's a non-excuse. That is unexcusable. That's an unexcusable excuse. That it's not even in the realm of discussion for me. There is no good reason, none, that the Raw Women's Championship should have been neglected for this long. I can understand, a few weeks, a month, maybe 5-6 weeks at the most. It's been double that or more. I really should go back and do some research as to exactly when the last time the Raw Women's Championship was even felt important, even felt like it was something the women were chasing. Instead, Peyton Royce kind of mentions it on Raw Talk about how she's been overlooked and blah, blah, blah. And, it's my time, all this stuff. Well, okay, great. But most of your audience don't watch Raw Talk. So if you're not going to make it, focal point of the show of Raw, where most eyeballs are, then I don't take anything that happens on Raw Talk seriously. It's a nice little sideshow. It's a nice little off the script format for a lot of the stars that don't want to be handcuffed into what they have to read that night. But until things actually materialize on the show that actually matters, I won't buy it. There's just no excuse. There's none. So I just wanted to bring that to you guys right off the bat. I know normally I don't come up talking about something that's really not anything that happened on Raw. It's just a glaring omission. Okay. Let's get to Bobby Lashley. I want to talk about Bobby Lashley. I want to balance it out. I'm not going to go in from something bad to bad. Don't worry. There's something I want to talk about that is, you heard part of it in the open. We'll get to it. And that is the Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon segment that I have some passionate thoughts on that thing right there. So let's talk about Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley so far, again, a very short sample size that we're talking about here. But Bobby Lashley, I think, has so far done a nice job. MVP has stepped in when he needed to. I think that many of us looked at MVP as the mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley, and yes, he has at times done that. But Bobby Lashley at the same time has also stepped up and spoken for himself. Bobby Lashley has cut okay to decent promos, to average just slightly above average promos. Nothing that'll knock your socks off or make you go crazy for what he's saying, feel strongly one way or the other. It's just kind of like, cool, Lashley's champion. It's about time. I think that's how most fans feel. Now, I'm not pretending to be the doctor of fans where I feel like I can take their temperature and always feel like I'm speaking for the mass, the majority of fans. But I just sometimes just have this sense that most fans feel this way. And that is, again, cool. Lashley's champion. It's about time. Let's see where they go with this. I believe that's how most fans feel. And I'm on that same boat, in the same boat. I'm rowing along with you guys. I'm a fan of Bobby Lashley as champion right now. I'm willing to also let it ride a long time, like 6 months. I'm not saying WrestleMania. That's not a long time. If he drops it at WrestleMania, he would have had it, for 6 weeks? I think you're going to have a fan uprising if he drops it at WrestleMania. Now, you could argue, well, if he's going to drop it, is there really anyone that's less of a heat magnet than Drew McIntyre for the fans, who they respect, who they have admiration for, who has done a nice job steering the ship during the pandemic? He was really given the short end of the stick when it comes to being able to really celebrate in front of fans and have that moment. There really isn't anybody better that you could mitigate that heat against if you're going to drop the belt to anybody, if it's Drew McIntyre, because that guy has a bond with the fans. He has more of an emotional bond than Bobby Lashley does. But that doesn't mean Bobby Lashley, if given enough time, can't also create that bond. So my point is, if they're going to do this, if they're going to truly drop it to Drew, then there's really no better person to do it without having the fans lose their damn minds. I'm still not for it. I still think Bobby Lashley should be given a fair shake. I think he should defeat Drew McIntyre clean at WrestleMania and move on. Now, how the hell was it determined that Drew McIntyre is automatically given a main event spot at WrestleMania against Bobby Lashley? Is no one else fighting for this? Is it just given because he hasn't got his rematch? Well, I thought the automatic rematch thing was antiquated. Remember that whole message from a number of years ago? when WWE said they're going to change things up and all the McMahons came out and we're going to give you new rivalries. We listen to you. We hear you, all that stuff. Well, if it's antiquated, why is he getting a rematch? How did this happen? And why is nobody complaining about it? If the pinnacle of your career, what you're fighting for, what everyone's there for is to be the main event of WrestleMania, why have we not heard a peep from anyone on Raw about how Drew McIntyre was just birthrighted into this position? Now, again, I am a fan of Drew McIntyre. I love what he stands for. He's a man's man. He feels like a true champion. He doesn't feel like a corporate selection. He is everything that you would hope in a champion. He truly is. But that doesn't mean that he is exempt from storyline logic. That means that WWE needs to make sure that everyone has storyline logic. And this does not exempt Drew McIntyre from this requirement. How is Drew McIntyre? How did nobody explain to us? Nobody. It was just breaking news at the top of the show. You remember? At the top of the show, I think it was Tom Phillips comes out and announces some of the matches for the night. And he says, and breaking news, a bombshell. We have the main event of WrestleMania will be Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, cool. I think we all knew that was likely the case. But how the hell did we get there? How did we get there? Is no one has anything to say? If this is supposed to be the absolute cream of the crop, Bobby Lashley has an open spot, no one's challenging for that. I mean, what? It made no sense. Now, you could have at least had Sheamus versus McIntyre at Fastlane with that stipulation on the line. And yes, we all knew the foregone conclusion that McIntyre is going to win and we can all move on with our lives. Yes, we know that. But at least there would have been some storyline. But no, there's no tournament. Nobody's coming up to Adam Pearce. No one's saying boo. They're just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess we'll accept it. What? Oh, God. And look, I'm looking forward to it. I love how McIntyre came out and ignored The Miz at the beginning of the show. And just walked past him, not even making eye contact. Even the announcers pointed that out. And he just went and talked to Lashley. Lashley blindsided him. But that's his own fault. And then we get Miz versus McIntyre. And I will say, it's nice seeing the Miz get his ass kicked. It's nice. It's always fun. I could do without the hairstyle of Morrison. I guess it's supposed to be annoying. I saw a meme, might have been on Instagram, Facebook, where somebody had put John Morrison's hairdo in the picture, and they had said, the cool aunt that lets you drink alcohol at your high school graduation party or something and doesn't tell your mom. That's exactly what it was. He looks like that cool aunt it's kind of the edgy aunt that you may have that will kind of keep your secrets when you do things you shouldn't do. That's exactly what he looked like. So that was the open to Raw. And I also do like oh God, I can't believe I'm going to say this, the message that McIntyre was sending to Lashley by hitting the Claymore on the Miz, and then not pinning him, but rather going for the Hurt Lock and making Miz tap out. That was a nice touch. I do like that. Typically you have the heel do that to the babyface first, but McIntyre doing this to Drew and kind of punking him out with his own move is, I guess, a nice little message. Now, speaking of corporate language, using the word message, boy, a lot of messages and statements, huh? So many messages and statements. But if Byron Saxton could get the language right, what I mean by that is Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre told Miz that it's not the night, that if if Miz attacks McIntyre, that he's not going to just defeat him, that he's going to hurt him. And throughout the match, throughout the entire match, Byron Saxton, at least 2 or 3 times, I shouldn't say the entire match, a bit over dramatic, but Byron Saxton said that, and this is exactly what McIntyre was talking about, he's going to make an example out of Miz. I'm saying, no, Byron, stop with the corporate language. It's not, he didn't say he's going to make an example. He said he's going to hurt him. There's a difference. There's the language matters. Anybody else catch that? Or am I just listening with a critical ear because it's fun to nitpick when they don't get things right? I don't know. But he said, no, I was thinking to myself, Byron, shut up. No. And he said it like 3 times, and I'm thinking, okay, this time he'll correct himself. No. Not once did Drew McIntyre say during that promo he's going to make an example out of Miz. He said he's going to hurt him. I mean, so Byron, get your linguistics shined up, please. Good Lord. But it was a nice match. Right now, between now and WrestleMania, we're not going to have McIntyre lose a match or Bobby Lashley lose a match. It's not going to happen, nor should it. These guys are going to look as strong as humanly possible. It's going to be, these guys are both going to look like they're on a just collision course to hell. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. But and Sheamus and McIntyre are going to be fun to watch. I think that's going to be a really physical match at Fastlane. And don't worry, the Raw Women's Championship is not defended at Fastlane, nor was it defended at the Extreme Rules Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. So this will be the second pay-per-view in a row in which the Raw Women's Championship isn't even defended. This is pathetic. Was it even defended at the Royal Rumble? Anybody know? I'm trying to think back to the Rumble. Was it even like the pre-show? Somebody look back. I don't know off the top of my head. But it's been several pay-per-views now. The Raw Women's Championship isn't even defended, even in a pity match. Okay, off that subject. So let's get to Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon, because for all the good that Bobby Lashley is showing right now, and an MVP for that matter, and Drew and the aggressiveness and taking out Miz, then we have Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. Now, let me get to the small silver lining in this dark cloud of this rivalry, because I do want to try to pull some positivity out of it. I don't want this to be a podcast you guys listen to and just go, oh my God, all he does is complain about the product. Why does he even watch? Well, again, I would like to point out we are very honest on this show. We don't sugarcoat things. We don't just be negative to be negative and get clicks. We are straight and to the point. I mean, I think there's no way around that. So I want to be very clear for those that may be new. We don't try to get clicks on fake negativity or rants or cussing. We don't do that. Okay, we are passionate fans that tell it like it is. Period. So let's get to Braun Strowman and Shane. Let's talk about something positive with that program. At least Braun Strowman isn't working with a child at WrestleMania. And yes, Braun Strowman's WrestleMania history outside of last year, which basically fell into his lap by beating Goldberg for the Universal Championship, that literally just fell in his lap by luck, because Roman didn't want to be putting his family at risk with COVID and all the uncertainty, and understandable. So outside of last year's fluke and Lady Luck just, giving him a big old hug and really just complete and sheer luck. I mean, there's no other word for it. Last year with Braun Strowman beating Goldberg and being put in one of the main events of WrestleMania. I don't like saying one of. To me, there's only one main event. That main event is always the one that closes the show. Main event is a singular term. I will stand by that forever. Main event. I don't like main events. It's a banned word. It should not exist. It's a way to sell talent on, you're one of the main events. No. There's one main event. It is the event, the match, the segment that closes the show. Period. And you may say, well, what do you mean? Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25? They didn't close the show. So I guess they are the perceived main event, but they aren't the on-paper main event. Right? You can have a match that steals a show that you go look at and go, oh man, that should have been the main event. And you know what? Maybe it should have. And maybe in your mind, it is your perceived main event. But the way that Vince sells talent, and the way that even he sold CM Punk, and this is really where it all stems from, and why I'm talking about this, when CM Punk was working with The Undertaker after Paul Bearer died that year, he said he had a death wish, and he said, that was my effing year. I should have been in the main event of WrestleMania. Just like the year before was Daniel Bryan's effing year. And Vince tried to sell him on, well, what are you talking about? You're working with The Undertaker. You're one of the main events. And Punk told Vince, no, there's one main event. It's what closes the show. And that is so true. And I completely believe it. So to me, that is just a wolf in sheep's clothing. It is a mask of telling talent you're in one of the main events. We all know there's one main event. It's what ends the show. Any show, SmackDown, Raw, WrestleMania, it doesn't matter. So I will argue that to the death. Now, let's talk about this Braun Strowman thing and Shane. What I like is this. See, I get back to it. I got on tangents, but I circle back. I'm getting better. Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. Again, Braun Strowman's not working with a 10-year-old. He doesn't have to pull somebody out of the crowd this year. It looks like they will be colliding at WrestleMania, even though it's not announced yet. It will likely be announced next Monday after we are done with the Fastlane pay-per-view and on full board of WrestleMania. So that's a good thing for Braun, a good thing for all of us. Shane also takes crazy bumps. Shane doesn't care about his body. I did a Wrestling Nostalgia last week, the week before, about the King of the Ring in 2001 with Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle. I mean, yeah, that was 20 years ago. But since then, Shane has shown that he still doesn't give a damn about his body. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean in that he will put his body on the line in ways that even some talent won't. Even, you know, you could argue maybe it's a level of stupidity or it's craziness or both. Whatever it is, Shane puts it all out there. He does. As sloppy as he is sometimes, I got to give the guy credit. And he is a better heel than a babyface. I think every McMahon is a better heel than a babyface outside of Linda. You know, every time Linda comes back, you know some major return is just about to happen, right? Like, I just look at Linda and I go, oh, is Austin coming back? I am forever connecting those two, because how many times during the Attitude Era did we see Linda McMahon come out and you knew immediately somehow she was going to put Austin in some kind of position of authority? I mean, so many times, right? I don't know what it is about seeing Linda McMahon. Not that we've seen her recently at all. I mean, she also took one of the worst stunners of all time during the Homecoming in 2005 to the USA Network. I mean, you want to see a bad stunner, an embarrassing stunner, go to when Austin stunned the entire McMahon family and see the stunner Linda took. It's just bad. I mean, I'm not ranting on it. She is not a wrestler. She got kind of caught up and scared or whatever, and I get it. But anyway, so Shane does put his body on the line. This match that they're going to have inevitably will be very physical. That's a good thing. I think it should be. It needs to be. Shane is a better heel. He's a good heel. He can be a great heel. He can be a really good heel. And they are starting to make me want to see Shane get put down. They're starting to make me feel that way. At least a little bit. It doesn't feel like a Retribution storyline that I just don't care about, or Raw Underground that I just don't care about. It was never explained how he came back. Even Kevin Owens said he was fired if he lost. They never explained that stuff, but we're all supposed to forget. So there's that. So those are the good things. Here's where things go weird. Really weird. Even annoying and rant-worthy. I mentioned last week about how Shane McMahon had one of the weirdest segments of all time. Even Braun Strowman brought it up that he couldn't get his words out. And I think Shane last week genuinely forgot his lines. I think that's one of the reasons the segment was so awkwardly long, is that Shane simply forgot his lines. He didn't know where he was going, trying to find his train of thought. He's live. He didn't know what to do, and he finally found it after like 10 minutes of awkwardness. And I think that's genuinely, really the truth. So he thinks Braun's stupid. This is the whole premise of the story. He thinks Braun is stupid. Okay. So are we going Braun's against Brain and doing a play on words? Ha ha, he he. Is that what this is? I mean, if someone called me stupid, I mean, I would question their age, their maturity level. It's so ridiculous that this is possibly what's going to get us to a WrestleMania match with these two. That's, oh, you're stupid. It's playground stuff. It's like elementary school playground stuff. Seriously. Not even middle school. I think by middle school you're like, oh, you're stupid. And you're like, you're annoyed, and you're just kind of like, oh, okay, well, F you. And you just throw the middle finger up. But for some reason, Braun is such a hothead. He just wants to give everyone these hands. I don't know. It's a little immature and shallow for a storyline to even happen here. Why does Shane think Braun's stupid? Just because? I mean, we didn't give that either. I guess we're not going to dive that far. But that's the whole premise of this. Shane is smarter than Braun. Braun is just Braun and no brains. And that's where this whole thing started. And there's just so many things to this that just are ridiculous, right? So you have Braun yelling and screaming that he wants a match with Shane. Shane agrees, but you're not going to get a straight up match. You're going to get some kind of weirdness. And believe it or not, Braun actually got his hands on Shane. I didn't think he would do that. He got his hands on Shane, gave Shane a bit of a beat down, but not enough to make you satisfied. And, did his ridiculous run around the ring for no reason, because it's not going to make you go faster, by the way. Especially when you're turning corners around a ring. It's preposterous. It's all for show. I guess it's supposed to live up to his locomotive train analogy, like the Stroman Express. Is that what that is? Does he do that so the announcers can be triggered to go, oh, the Stroman Express, which is stupid. I mean, I'm sorry. The Stroman Express marketing slogan that he's been just kind of shoved down it's been shoved down the fans' throats over the last several months. I don't buy it. I'm okay. He's a freight train. Okay. And so he does this stupid little move on the outside. It doesn't do anything, right? But anyway, Shane hits him with a camera that looked like it was, pulled from 1987, like one of those old VHS, like how you have the big VHS tapes that used to go in the camcorders. That's exactly what that looked like. It was a garbage camera. They decided not to actually give you or sacrifice one of their 8K cameras or whatever the hell new cameras they have that blurring effect when the wrestlers come out, which I understand. I mean, those are like tens of thousands of dollars. So they sacrificed, a vintage 1987 RCA VHS tape camcorder. I mean, it was, go back and look if you don't believe it. This thing's flat out old, guys. So he hits Braun Strowman in the head a couple of times, which I was hoping there'd be blood. I mean, like, if you hit somebody in the head with an actual camera, there's going to be cuts somewhere. I mean, this is where I miss blood. I'm sorry, I miss blood. And then Shane does his off the top rope through the crash pad table, which is essentially, it is just a crash pad at this point. It's not even an announce table anymore. It's just a glorified crash pad. That's all it is. I'm sure it still is, it isn't the most comfortable thing to do, but it's as safe can be for a bump that big. And Braun Strowman gets put down. But that's not all, folks. That's not all. Because Shane McMahon had under the ring, I don't know if he got it from, Mark Summers and Double Dare. I'm not sure. Some kind of Nickelodeon rerun. He contacted Nickelodeon Studios and he's like, hey guys, if you have any extra slime, can you just kind of, ship it down via UPS to the, to Orlando and to the Amway Center? I need it for my match tonight. I mean, seriously. So he dumps 2 buckets of slime. They didn't want to say slime. They said green goo. I think that's the phraseology they used. For whatever reason, they didn't want to say slime. And he dumped it on Braun Strowman, and they called it humiliating, degrading. I'd call it childish. That's what I'd call it. Now, you beat down Braun because you use the camera. It does make you angry and want to see Braun get his hands on Shane and put him through the ring and all that. Yeah, it does. I mean, this again, as stupid as this is, it does still kind of make me want to see Shane get beat up. Because Shane is good as a heel. So there is that silver lining. Now, does that make me overwhelmingly excited about the story? No, not at all. I just, this slime stuff, and this is certainly not the first time that WWE has used slime. They have used slime. I think Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins used slime in like a briefcase or something when Dean was being the wacky, zany Dean Ambrose. And he was in a feud with Seth after Seth turned on the Shield, the infamous chair in the back. He used it there. I think DX used it on the McMahons or the Spirit Squad. I think the Spirit Squad. Yeah, they did back in 2006. I was there live in Rochester, New York for that, right the week after DX actually reunited, when Triple H and HBK reunited to go against the Spirit Squad. And that night they slimed the Spirit Squad. So this isn't the first, nor is it certainly the last time WWE will use the slime gimmick that apparently is just so humiliating. It's kind of like the dog food. Remember when Corbin put dog food in Roman Reigns' face late last year? Or was it 2019? I don't even know. That program that went on for like freaking ever. When he tied up Roman Reigns and put dog food in his face, and they replayed it, almost as much as the who done it when Roman got attacked backstage and they don't know who did it. Eventually it was Eric Rowan that no one cared about. So I don't know. We will not see slime go away. Vince finds it funny or entertaining, whatever the case may be. So, okay, we're going to take a quick break for the sponsor of the show today, and then we're going to be back with thoughts on Bad Bunny and handing over the 24/7 championship for a replica belt. Oh, yeah. This is just ridiculous. We're going to talk about that and so much more right after this.
What's going on? He said she heard.
It's an original Mike Fox podcast series.
He said
She heard.
That wasn't your lunchbox you just ate out of. It had my name on it.
You guys are nuts.
these guys are a riot.
It's overheard conversations.
Wait, what do we have here?
Just an old bra.
What's going on in there?
Every episode is about hearing one thing, but finding out it was something completely different.
I taught him how to really meditate.
I love the quirky comedy,
Bakery heist.
The whole bakery knows you just fatted.
the music.
You call it soccer, but we call it football.
Soccer.
I'm Kelly Petering from Australia.
I'm Mattia Signaroldi from Italy.
And I'm Mike Fox from America. And we are...
He Said, She Heard.
And you can find us at...
www.hesaidSheheard.com.
Can you say that again?
Yes, at www.hesaidSheheard.com.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
All right, well, let's move on here. Let's move on to Bad Bunny. Move on to Damian Priest. Because I'm not a fan of Bad Bunny. You guys know this. I'm not going to go into the reasons why. I have broken it down many times over the last several weeks, really since he's been in the Rumble. It's been painful to watch him on a weekly basis make all the wrestlers look like fools, while this 150-pound just jerk who comes across like a total D-bag on screen. And look, you may be saying, man, Bad Bunny's got some awesome music. What are you talking about, man? You don't even know what you're talking about. You just don't like his music, so you know, whatever. And I'm sure people are out there insulting me, and it's fine. Look, I don't care. I don't like Bad Bunny's music, nor do I like him on my wrestling show, because, oh yeah, it's a wrestling show, not a celebrity guest show that people come in and are supposed to make everyone else look like just a-holes. So Damian Priest, I'm sorry, we'll get to that match. Backstage, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest, who are just, at this point, I think they're like secretly married. I don't know if they're in a relationship. Of course, I'm being just a jerk about things right now, but they will not leave each other's side. Bad Bunny is the guy who runs his mouth, and he has Damian Priest to back him up. And Damian Priest is becoming as unlikable can be as well. So we have Bad Bunny, who is just so unlikable. I really don't know how anybody could cheer for this guy. I don't know. There's no redeeming qualities about this guy at all. None. And yet we're just told that he's a babyface and we're supposed to like him. Anyway, we get R-Truth sneaking up on him. R-Truth has the Smoking Skull replica belt. He called it the Stone Cold belt. It's the Smoking Skull belt. Whatever. And then he's also got a lunchbox of Austin 316. And he gives all these things to Bad Bunny. And in exchange, he said he wants his baby back. He wants that. So after speaking in Spanish for like a short period of time to Damian Priest, they agree. And Damian Priest trades a replica belt and a lunchbox for I don't even know if he gave him the lunch. Maybe he didn't give him the lunchbox. But he traded a replica belt that you could get on WWEshop.com for free. I'm sure. You know what? I'm sure for him it would be free if he wanted it. But you can go on WWEshop.com, get a replica belt of Stone Cold's Smoking Skull belt. And that's exactly how much it would be worth. And that's what Bad Bunny traded, was a 24/7 title, the real one, for a replica belt. Now, you could argue the 24/7 title isn't worth much anyway. You could argue that it just made sense for R-Truth to get it back. And yes, it made R-Truth, it made sense for him to get it back. But did Bad Bunny really have to just hand it to him? You know, I tweeted it out, which, by the way, you can follow me on Twitter at wrestling_audio. I said, can we not have Bad Bunny even take a bump, even a roll-up to lose the belt? Apparently not. Apparently, the 24/7 title is not worth as much as a replica belt. Again, guys, anybody in the sound of my voice can go purchase one of those. That's what Bad Bunny took in exchange for a real belt. Now, again, I understand how little the 24/7 title means, but it's still a legitimate championship in WWE, like it, love it or hate it. So, and by the way, I don't even think Bad Bunny's worthy of carrying a replica belt, much less the Stone Cold Smoking Skull belt replica. He's not even worth that to me. I mean, he should just go to KB Toys and pick up one of the child-sized belts. I mean, that would be more appropriate. So we get Damian Priest versus Jackson Riker. Damian Priest beats him pretty quickly. And we got Elias about to put his hands or get retribution on Bad Bunny. Of course, Bad Bunny is able to somehow slide away. I mean, I figure that out. Throw a couple punches to Elias. Damian Priest takes care of Elias. And then we get John Morrison coming out to distract both Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. From behind, this is probably the best thing that The Miz has done in years in WWE. And this is saying something because, I just, for weeks, tore The Miz and Morrison apart. And I stand by that. I don't take back any of it. That said, this is the best thing Miz did. And maybe in his entire career. I'd put it up in the top 3. Hit Bad Bunny from behind with a guitar. Now, did the guitar break? No. Was it as visually pleasing as if he had really wailed on him to make the guitar break? No. But at least Bad Bunny, in his super thick sweatshirt that he wore to make sure that the guitar shot didn't hurt too much, which, by the way, go look. His sweatshirt is, it's pretty obvious he wore that so that the shot of the guitar would be absorbed a little bit by the sweatshirt. And he took the shot and he went down. It was nice to see at least he took a bump, as safe as it was. So hopefully at WrestleMania he takes a couple more bumps and we never see him again. Ever. But thank you, Miz, for hitting him from behind. It was beautiful, beautiful to see. Okay, we do get Asuka versus Shayna Baszler, and boy, was this physical. My God. I mean, some of the shots from Shayna Baszler to Asuka, you know, she just got her tooth knocked out by Shayna, and Shayna goes for it again. And they did a replay. There's no way to fake that. She kneed her right in the jaw. I mean, jeez. They were going for each other's face. And then what Asuka did at the end of taking the turnbuckle off and making Shayna Baszler basically put her teeth on the metal and then was going to drop her teeth into the metal ring. I mean, that was a different side of Asuka. And, you know, I wonder, as I talk about it, if it's a sign of things to come for Asuka, being more aggressive, being nasty, doing things that are a little bit over the line, meaning heel turn for Asuka. I think it's necessary at this point. I've gone from don't do it to I'll see how it goes to I think it's necessary. And yes, even in the face of a babyface Charlotte, I understand. I am still of the belief as of this moment that Charlotte is a better heel than a face. But given the circumstances and given that I think Charlotte may have found her babyface character rather than just a robotic, constantly smiling, just kind of boring promo that she was as a babyface that felt extremely forced, she may have found herself. And Asuka needs a character shakeup in a big way, and she needs to drop the belt. If they're not going to do anything with her, I already went through this for 20 minutes to open the show, but they need to just drop it if they're not going to do anything with her. But Asuka in this match between her and Shayna rolled up Shayna Baszler for the win, but that's where the whole brutality started to kick in. So the dreaded roll up, because we got to have one per show. I think it's the minimum amount allowed under the law. I'm pretty sure it's law at this point that you have to have one roll up per show. Okay. We got Riddle also defeating Mustafa Ali. And again, this was not on the Hulu version, so I'm going to read what WWE's recap is. It says, it's very short. This isn't going to be story time. Mustafa Ali aimed to lead by example in a United States Championship showdown, but Riddle evaded the Retribution troops en route to his first successful title defense. The leader of Retribution rallied at times, but a Bro Derek from the original Bro set up the pin. Oh, God, can we please stop saying bro? Please. Okay, well, Mustafa Ali, for all the good I thought he was going to bring to the Retribution group, I don't think he's gotten a fair shake. And I shouldn't even say the group. I'm more concerned about his own career than the damn group, because I could care less about Slapjack and I don't know, whoever else sounds like an 80s villain from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, like, is Shredder going to be one of them too? I mean, how about Rocksteady? I mean, I think those were actual Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle bad guys, so to speak. But yeah, Mustafa Ali, he cut such a good promo when he wants to. And the rivalry he's had on Instagram with Kofi Kingston that was brought up to me by Mimi, our host of AEW Review and the Highs and Lows of the Week. Go check them out, by the way. Brought that to my attention, and they have had a really nice program on Instagram. I hate to say it, that sounds weird, right? Like, what do you mean they've had a program on Instagram? Go check it out if you haven't already. I know it's a little bit old now, but check out their comments about one another on Instagram. It's really, really fun to watch. Okay, we got Bobby Lashley versus Sheamus in the main event. And this was fine. They didn't feel like they had a whole lot of chemistry. There wasn't a whole lot of finesse in this matchup. It was just a power versus power matchup. So it didn't blow me away. It was just kind of what you expect. It was just we did get a clean victory by Lashley after hitting a spear. That was very nicely done, by the way. And Sheamus goes down. That was exactly what needed to happen. We can't have fluke wins at this point for either man, Drew or Bobby. It is to the moon with these two right now. That's what the focus should be, and that's what I believe it will be for both men as they go to a collision course and meet on April 10th or April 11th, depending on what night they are chosen to perform on. So this was, again, the match was fine. I had no problem with it. It was just a nice way to end the show with Lashley going on top. However, Drew comes in and does hit a bro kick on McIntyre and then stares down Sheamus. Why is he staring down Sheamus? What? After everything he's done, you're just going to have some words for him? You're not going to, kick his head in too? That was weird. That is just like, he's right there, man. Do it. And instead he's like, oh, I'm going to get you on Sunday, mister. I mean, he didn't say that exactly, but to that effect, it's like, well, it's the time for talking's done. I mean, the guy turned on you after 20 years and you're just going to like, I don't know, maybe it was a respect thing and maybe that's what we can say it was. Okay, a couple more things here. Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose defeat Naomi and Lana. I don't know what to say about this. I know that both Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose have been trying to put themselves into the title picture for the women's belt, the women's Raw Women's Championship. That's about as much fanfare as the belt's gotten. It's just those two mentioning it. But, I mean, for Naomi and Lana, those two are just a team just because they got nothing else for them. It's not a good situation right now for Naomi or Lana. I mean, you think about Lana, my God, she was focused with Nia Jax for a while, actually getting in a women's championship match against Asuka, was the sole survivor for the women's team at Survivor Series, albeit she didn't do anything. And now she's just kind of relegated to a lower card women's division tag team matchup that we're supposed to believe is going to have implications for one of the teams getting a women's tag title match. I mean, I guess that's the premise we're going with. Fine. By the way, Rhea Ripley, we keep getting promos that she's coming. The Nightmare. I'm excited. that this woman has found herself again. And what she did at Rumble was impressive. With the ending that her and Bianca Belair had was far superior to the men's finish of the Royal Rumble. One of the best finishes to a Royal Rumble match I've seen in years. So I'm really looking forward to Rhea Ripley debuting on Monday Night Raw. Okay, now we get to the final point here for Monday night. And if I missed anything, guys, I do apologize. But I'm going by WWE's recap just to make sure I didn't miss anything. We get the New Day versus the Hurt Business for the Raw Tag Team Championships. I'm sighing because I'm trying not to cuss. I have no problem. First of all, I have no problem with these two teams meeting up with one another. There's not a whole lot of depth at all on the tag team side. At all. I understand that there's not a whole lot of teams to work with. And these two teams have had really good matches in the past. I mean, they've stolen the show at a couple of pay-per-views. No problem with them. The problem I have is, again, same with Drew McIntyre being awarded a WWE Championship match. How exactly did the New Day get a title opportunity against the Hurt Business? Was it because of their fluke win last week? I guess that's the narrative we're going with without actually being told that's how they earned it. Or are we just at the point where I'll get there, telling fans how people are earning championship matches is antiquated? Is that where we're at? Because I'm not buying that. That's lazy booking. That's your ineptitude being covered by a lie that I don't need to know how people are earning championship matches. If that's how they earned it, fine, tell us. But we weren't told that last week that it was a number one contenders match. Now again, there's not a whole lot of teams for either team for the Hurt Business to work with. But now the Hurt Business lose to New Day. New Day become the 11-time tag team champions. And AJ Styles and Omos come out and challenge them to basically a tag team title match. That will take place presumably at WrestleMania. Now, again, I have less than zero interest in another title run for New Day. I mean, it's getting stupid at this point. I have no idea why this needs to happen other than Vince feels that New Day going into WrestleMania as champions are more interesting than the Hurt Business, which I would argue very strongly against. But now we have, I guess, a babyface and heel dynamic, which Vince wouldn't have gotten if it was still Hurt Business as champions facing Omos and AJ Styles. I would argue, full and fine, do a triple threat, right? Like put those two in a triple threat scenario so all can be involved. Because I have my doubts about Omos working very well in the ring. I've seen him be very stiff on the outside, again, very limited. So this guy may surprise me, but I have my doubts that he's going to be a great wrestler. Certainly intimidating, got a great presence. I'm a fan of Omos. I just don't know, and I'll wait and reserve my judgments for after Fastlane or WrestleMania, because I don't think they're on Fastlane. I just looked, and see how he performs in the ring. But I think AJ and Omos should win the tag team belts. There's no need for New Day to continue to hold them ever. I mean, ever again, I should say. So I'm on board for AJ and Omos becoming tag team champions. Certainly change things up in the tag team division. One last thing. Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss challenges Randy Orton to a match, essentially a match at Fastlane, and says that you've wanted me out of your life, or you wanted to kick me out of your life. I'm going to give you the opportunity. Now, Randy retorts that by saying that Lex wants me to kick her out of my life, and says basically I can do that, referring to his punt. There's no other way to round that. That's what he was referring to. But I also think here's what's going to happen. Early prediction on this. This may not be my final. We have Alexa Bliss stand there, because they're not actually going to have a real match, let's be honest, with a gasoline can, pour it on herself, and tempt Randy to light her on fire, of which he will oblige. I think Randy will light Alexa Bliss on fire, and we'll see the resurrection of The Fiend, or something big happen that will say, now The Fiend is back. I still think that they're going to wait until WrestleMania to re-debut The Fiend. That'll be a nice hook. They've already waited 3 months. I think they can wait another couple of weeks to debut The Fiend at WrestleMania. Again, a nice hook. So that's how I think it's going to go down. If you think these two are going to have an actual match, I think you're fooling yourself. It wouldn't make any sense, even with Alexa's, quote, special powers. I mean, unless she's just going to make Randy throw up black sludge the entire match. I mean, I just don't see what other advantage she has. So that's how I think that's going to go down right now. I could change my opinion. But speaking of which, since this is a pay-per-view week, guess what that means? We do a preview and prediction show Saturday night. Sunday night is going to be the review show for Fastlane with YouTube's The Botch Guy. Go and check him out on YouTube at youtube.com/The Botch Guy. Just search him out. You'll be able to find him pretty quickly. One of the top wrestling podcasts or top wrestling video creators for wrestling on YouTube. Search out The Botch Guy. Great, entertaining, quick and easy to watch. Trust me, you won't be sad that you subscribe to his channel. But he'll be joining us here on the WWE podcast immediately following the pay-per-view. So it'll be posted early Monday morning, late Sunday night. We'll see how that goes. See how late the pay-per-view goes. But the preview and prediction show will be Saturday night with a co-host that I have yet to nail down, but we will. The rest of the week, you guys know how it goes with NXT and AEW and rivalries and ups and downs of the week and SmackDown review with Michael Ritter. All of that is coming your way this week as well. It's going to be a jam-packed week. It is a pay-per-view week, which means less sleep for me, but more content for you. And that's ultimately what it's about. So Guys, that is all for me tonight. I hope I didn't miss anything. If you want to join in our mailbag, please do so, because tomorrow I'll be recording in the evening and get your voice on here. All right, everybody. That's all for me tonight. As always, take care. I'll talk to you next time.